Here's an interesting, we've been talking a lot about Amazon regarding their problems with the antitrust issues with the government, how they're treating their markets, their dominance, their monopolistic practices, and so forth. But despite that, they're still moving on, right? Trying to, I won't say eke out, but continue grow their business and reach a wider por- create more portfolio in a sense. And one of the interesting things that they're trying to launch now or planning to launch is to provide a home medical test for households, which is kind of interesting. And they're calling it diagnostics. So you can do your medical test like COVID-19 test at home, which is a great idea, and sexually transmitted infection diseases and other clinical genomics. So obviously, going out is always a concern for many people. Being able to have those services done at your doorsteps, or you can do it similar like how a pregnancy test would work, would be uh, a big deal, and that would sell a lot of products. If you're concerned in terms of safety, having that social distancing requirement and so forth. So let's see here. Where was it? There you go. So I mentioned, so Amazon is planning to launch, they're calling it the diagnostics, and offering home testing kits for COVID-19 and other illnesses as mentioned. Now, they're doing this by using their subsidiary company. They're calling it STS Lab Holdco, who's doing this testing. So they offer testing kits for infections that lead to respiratory and sexually transmitted disease. Obviously, the more common it is, that needs to be get tested right away, the more it makes sense to have those tests readily available for the public and so forth. Now, what's interesting here is the project that they mentioned for the diagnostics. They, what did they call it? Let me see here. Yes. So the initiative led by a team. It was an in-house Amazon team. They called it Project Ultraviolet. I don't know why would they call that. Anyway, the team is already being referred to as the Amazon's diagnostics. So meaning, obviously, the the testing is for diagnostics purposes to be able to determine if you're infected or not. So if you need to go to see a doctor or visit a hospital, so you can, get better soon rather than later. Obviously, this will bring in tremendous revenue for the company. They're now expanding not just in e-commerce in terms of selling products, but now they're looking at other industries, whether in the entertainment, whether streaming services, and then now in the pharmaceutical industry, which is a big business, billion-dollar trillion industry. Anyway, so question here is, will this get be will this push through? Now obviously, looking at the numbers here, if you think about it, it made sense for Amazon if you're the company, but it's still in the planning discussion process, so it could be delayed, according to the article, or it could be entirely canceled altogether, which is, hopefully, for the company's sake, that if it makes sense to offer this product, then why not, offer this to the market as a whole, so that, the majority of public can benefit from it. But what's interesting here is, if they're able to offer this service to their customers, why not offer this to their employees, which was one of the main issues that was being discussed in previous articles, wherein a lot of employees in warehouses are complaining, the safety aspect of getting infected and so forth. Shouldn't you take care of your employees as well as taking, generating revenue from your key customers here? And obviously, launching this would give them another source of revenue, another way to diversifying their portfolio and being able to, grow the company exponentially, which leads us to another problem. Are they growing too big? Meaning, having control in one market and then shifting to another and to another gives them so much power. That's why the antitrust issue that's being levied upon them, not just, Not just Amazon. You have Apple, you have Google, Microsoft, all of those big tech companies, even Facebook, for forgot mention that, obviously it makes sense for them to grow their business by acquiring more businesses, but it gives them a bigger market position in you know in the market's space. And obviously there are pros and cons to it. The question is, in the government side, does it protect the interests of the individuals or the users themselves? Obviously, for those companies, they're trying to leverage their position to their advantage. That's why the battle between Apple and Epic Games is very critical in terms of what would it look like, at the end. Would it favor innovation for the consumer side, or will they favor more on the companies who made those products, whether Apple or Google or whoever those company is? But either way, it makes a strong case, for companies to keep on growing. But if you try to break them up, will it stagnate their growth and so forth? But we'll see. But again, if Northern America or in the United States is any indication of how markets will dictate those companies will behave, you already saw European Union, European countries, not 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 thrilled about the monopolistic actions that some of the tech companies have been implementing. So obviously, it's up to the government to put a stop to it, to monitor them, to put a what do you call this? A barrier so that they don't just completely take over the entire market space here.